What's good, everybody? It's your boy Bebop, and today we're going to be talking about upcoming season 2 changes that need to happen. And listen, if it doesn't happen this season, it should happen at least in the upcoming seasons. I'm not going to lie, I've been kind of feeling a little frustrated with the game in itself. It's getting a little dry for me, and I think a lot of other people can agree in the community as well. I've been listening to a lot of what the community has been saying as a whole, and I think it's definitely worth listening to. Now, again, I want to preface this by saying that in no way, shape, or form am I trying to crap on the game in its entirety. This is only just purely constructive criticism at its finest. I love this game and I genuinely want it to succeed and flourish. Before we get into the video, please give this video a like and a subscribe if you are new here. And I do want to reiterate and re-emphasize that I am an official Gekishin Squadra creator. So every single piece of constructive criticism that you guys comment down below will definitely be read by the devs. I can actually send it to the right people. Let me give you an example. Let me toot my own horn. When people rightfully complained about that Oob exploit when he was hitting the tower when Zeno wasn't present, I submitted clips of him doing that and they acknowledged that and fixed that right away. The same issue when there was that huge mistranslation error with the helper shoe. You guys remember when it talked about saying that it provided defense down and whatnot. All it is, shoe is just a ward. That's all it is to provide vision for you hit players. But because of that, I was able to send it to the right team. They acknowledged it right away and said they're going to fix it. And they told me immediately that they were going to fix it. So it's not to say that I'm going to be the one and only to fix and save things in the game, but it does help knowing that things do get acknowledged. So if you do have any constructive criticism to give me, please comment down below, and I promise you this video will be sent to the right hands. We're going to be talking about character balance, nerfs, divine draw cards, quality of life, matchmaking, communicating, and so much more that the game needs. By the time this video drops, it will make 1 week before season 2 drops. So hopefully that the things I say and the community wholeheartedly agrees on does get implemented for season 2, or at least they talk about upcoming changes for season 3 and beyond, or at least in season 2.5 and whatnot, we'll be seeing some changes. I understand that the game is fresh and new, but we still need some fresh content to make it feel more alive, because I genuinely believe in this game. So now, without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so first up, let's talk about some character balance and nerfs and buffs that I feel needs to be implemented into the game, and some things that need to happen ASAP. So I'm going to give credit when credit is due, of course. So let's talk about the positive things first. Really quick stuff. I just want to give a huge props to the dev teams for actually listening when Majin Buu needed his buff. Majin Buu is actually right now arguably a top 3 tech in the game. He needed health, he needed defense, and they did that and more. They gave him a big buff to his skill 1. He actually feels strong. He's kind of hard to kill now, practically makes his team immortal. He is exactly what a healer should be like. Another example, the Gamma buffs recently. Huge buffs. They just got buffed and they don't even feel overtuned. They feel nice and smooth. They actually feel playable. They were unplayable before, and you know, they implemented a lot of great changes for this character that I feel like now even I can enjoy this character. I actually never touched him before, and even I knew how bad he was. A lot of players tried to play him, but they just couldn't keep up with the meta. Now I feel like Gamma could actually keep up, and he's actually a contender for being a top DPS. And now we need to talk about the obvious. What did you guys do? Huh? What were you guys cooking in the lab when you guys created this atrocity? I'm just kidding. He's not an atrocious character. He's worse. He is a monster, okay? We really got to talk about Super Saiyan 3 Goku. It's out of control. I think this character's skill's way too high, and I think honestly it was a little too early to drop a character like him who can just teleport in and out of the map. And I think that is one of the greatest abilities and one of the worst situations where it's still season 1. You know, you introduce a character like that, I feel like later on in the seasons. I understand that they wanted to, you know, drop somebody really hype, but I feel like any iteration of Super Saiyan 3 Goku would have sufficed. Me personally, that's just my little nitpick, that as far as his instant transmission goes, I think it was a little too soon to introduce that. But that's not all. His scaling is just way too high, especially when you have the divine draw of Superstar. Early laning phase with Super Saiyan 3 Goku is just a nightmare. You're dealing with a raw level 3 Kamehameha that just shoot you across the map and your health is already down to smithereens. And most characters in the game just aren't equipped with that type of defense and health to sustain that. And that's the problem. We're going to talk about divine draws afterwards, but for now, we just want to get into the nitty core of what this character is and what needs to change. If it means just scaling down his beam a bit more, then so be it, or at least increasing the cooldown of his IT, then so be it. I would not mind if his IT was down for a minute. It should be the same amount of time as his ultimate. IT is way too rewarding for it to just be that short of a cooldown. 30 seconds is not enough. And for the fact that it gets reduced in half when he ITs into an enemy and he uses the Kamehameha afterwards, it's kind of crazy what he can do. This character is on a league of his own. And I know there's many workarounds to play around this character, but again, he's just one of those characters that, like, when he snowballs, it's like, this is like greed from the Bible. Right? Like, he gets one snowball stack and it's like, it feels like he already got 10 snowball stacks. Just when you thought you ate a Kamehameha, he's already charging up another fat maxed level Kamehameha right down to your jaw. He needs a nerf, there's no questions, and if you disagree, you are just a person that plays Super Saiyan 3 day in and day out. You don't know any other characters in this game that exist. This is the only character that you've ever bought that you will ever play in your entire Gekishin life. Like, there's no way you genuinely play this character and you think he doesn't need a nerf. Even I've played him and I can confidently say, yeah, he's fun when you're winning. But even then I can still say, yeah, that's a little too much. We gotta be fair here. Now here's another character. I know everybody loves this guy and look, he's fun and all. Hit needs a definite nerf. My man is doing way too much damage, and I'm gonna be honest, this man is not a DPS. Why is he doing that much damage? But it's not even his damage. I don't really care about his damage. Like, his damage is whatever. I can ignore that. Whatever. You know, people are building snowball stacks. I get it. Whatever. But that's not the real issue. The real issue is what he can do for such a character. I get it. He's an assassin, but I feel like for a character like this, needs to have high risk as well. This is a character that has high rewards, low risk. He has too much get out of jail free cards. And by that, I mean his invisibility and his ult, but it's mainly his invisibility. Introducing invisible characters is such a weird thing to do in video games in general, because you have to be fair and balanced about it. And fair and balanced is not in the equation when Hit was made. His invisibility lasts way too long. He can go invisible and he can go back to base while invisible. How is that even remotely fair? Not even to mention that he could go invisible and hit your tower. That doesn't make sense. His cooldowns are way too short. I'd understand if his invisibility had long cooldowns or all his abilities had some kind of cooldown, but they don't. His cooldowns are short. The risks is almost zero. You can afford to make mistakes with this character because his ultimate makes up for it. You make a mistake, I'm just gonna ult and the whole team is blinded. And now that the whole team is blinded in a team fight, I'm gonna go invisible and sneak around everybody and hit the towers. It's way too broken for a character like that to exist. And then yes, the one person out there is gonna argue, just get Shu and he's done. It doesn't work that way. Shu already has an incredible amount of cooldown. Shu is basically, again, like I said in the beginning of the video, he's basically a ward. A ward basically is to reveal characters like Hit, right? If you're blinded, you pop that Shu, which is your ward, and you're able to kind of see in the general vicinity. But the problem is, you use Shu once in a team fight, sure, it may work once, but then his cooldowns are so short, it's not even gonna matter because now your Shu is on cooldown and he's already going invisible or popping ult again. Honestly, they should probably even reduce the cooldown of Shu because I don't even know how long it is, honestly, but it should probably be every minute. But I think for a character like Hit, I think they need to increase the cooldown of his invisibility or something, man. Something's got to change. His blind last is way too long, in my opinion. But I also think with characters like, again, invisible characters, like say, for example, like in Marvel Rivals, for anybody who has played Invisible Woman, right? What happens with Invisible Woman is whenever someone in their general vicinity bumps into Invisible Woman, she gets out of her invisibility, which is fair. With Hit, you have to land your abilities, which... yes, okay, there's a lot of characters out there that has a lot of AoE abilities. But the problem is, in early laning phase, you're not going to always land those abilities. if I'm already chasing hit and I know for a fact he's like one tapped and I have no abilities, but I know he's right in front of me, but he's invisible and I can't attack him, that's a problem. The main thing is more so that he can do things while he's invisible, which I think is way too cheesy. I just think that if a character like that is going to exist and he's going to go invisible, he should not be able to back while he's invisible, and he should not be able to hit towers while he's invisible. I think that's a little too busted and unfair. If we're going to make a character like that who's invisible, it should strictly just be he's only invisible and he can't do anything, period. Now, we got characters like Caulifla. We got characters like Cooler, who are arguably the best tanks in the game right now. I use Cooler. I am a one-trick Cooler when it comes to tanking, of course. I could play any other character and roll, but Cooler's the one that I use. And even I agree that he needs a nerf, especially Caulifla too. I think Cooler does way too much for a tank. Like, this man can run all greens and he's still going to hit like a DPS. I think the problem is, though, they don't really know what to do, which is understandable. This guy, along with Zamasu, even Vegeta, and even Goku, when this game was still called Project Multi, the alpha and the beta, they were arguably the best characters in the game. Zamasu was arguably probably the #1 best character in the game, but Cooler was up there as well. I just feel like they don't know what to do with his stats. But if I do see any nerfs to Cooler, it would hurt, but I would understand and I would accept it because he does too much. Caulifla needs a definite nerf as well. I just think that her provoke lasts way too long, and there's no real way to know when her provoke is gone. I know that she has like a little invisible line or whatever, or a line that shows that you're provoked. But if you're out of range, there's no way for you to still know if you're not still provoked. Let me just demonstrate. See how those arrows are still there? I went out of range, but he would still be provoked. I'm going to see it again. He would still be provoked, but because it disappeared because he's out of range, he would still be provoked. I've gone into so many situations where this has happened, where I'll be out of range and I'll try to like safely use an ability that I could try to like escape. Like, for example, Cooler has a dash. Even if I know for a fact, all right, I'm out of range, I'm just gonna dash away because I'm out of range. I'm already dashing backwards because I'm still provoked. I think the provoke just lasts way too long, and the fact that the indicator could still go out of sight, you're still provoked. But it's just that the game is a little too finicky, or I don't know if it's a bug, but like, yeah, like look, the thing goes away. Just because the line goes away doesn't mean that you're still not provoked. So let's see. Provoke lasts 1, 2, 3, 2 seconds and some change, right? But genuinely, I've been in too many situations where it feels like it's lasting like 30 seconds, dog. So I don't know. I think her provoke just lasts a little too long. Zamasu got a recent buff as well, but it still feels like he's in a weird spot. And again, what I was saying earlier, Zamasu was arguably the best character in the game. So I feel like they're kind of afraid to like give him any more buffs than necessary, because he's a pretty decent character, don't get me wrong. It's just he kind of pales into comparison to characters like Caulifla and Cooler. His early laning phase is really strong. Like early mid, he's pretty strong, but like late game, he kind of just falls off because he doesn't really peel as much for his team. Like he's just gonna be an annoying mosquito to deal with. But characters like Caulifla, they're surviving, they're provoking, they're doing a lot of peeling, right? Cooler, he's gonna hit like a DPS, he could peel for the whole team, he can steal objectives, his ultimate is huge. Like, this guy is everything. Zamasu is just like, he's just there, right? He's getting a participation trophy. Upcoming buffs I would like to see, though, for a fact, I need to see a cell buff. Don't get me wrong, he's solid. It's just his early levels, like, it's too important. Early levels are too important. Early laning phase is too important to risk losing your lane. Prior to, like, even like the thing is, like, most characters can transform at level 7. He can transform at any level, so as long as he's draining the life force out of NPCs and enemies or whatever. But the problem is you are playing way too passively in early laning phase, and it gets to a point where if you're not securing the objectives, you're not farming up because your opponents are being too aggressive, because they understand this guy ain't anything. Like, his defense ain't there. his health ain't there. He will get pretty much two-shot. You know, it just feels a little discouraging to play a character like Cell. But again, I think I understand, like, I get it, because, you know, he's supposed to feel like a high risk, high reward kind of character. But it's like, this game is too fast paced, right? These games don't last like 30 minutes. Your early laning phase is so important. If you lose your lane, there's a high chance that you could lose your game. Now, again, I get it. Win lane, lose game. That's usually how MOBA games do go. So just because you lose your lane doesn't mean you actually technically lose the game, but it really causes a lot of pressure, and your teammates got to know what they're doing. They got to secure the objectives, and if he is way too behind, he's not transformed yet, it really causes a lot of strain and stress on the entire team. So he's really one of those weakest links kind of character, but once he transforms, yeah, like Cell is kind of a little problem. But I just think giving him like even like a slight health buff could really go a long way. His skill 3 is like whatever. I don't know, like, I don't know how I feel about his regeneration. Like, it's whatever. But everything else is pretty solid and standard for Cell. Once he's transformed, he's honestly a really solid character. I just think that maybe give him a slight health buff prior to his transformation, little defense could actually go a long way. People would pick him more often, in my opinion. And yes, all right, we all talk about Bojack being the worst DPS, and he is, and he will always be. But yes, even I agree he needs a buff. Okay, same with Deborah. This guy was a menace back in the days. For those that don't know, he was my main. I mained this guy in the beta, and this man, and even prior to when this guy didn't exist, I was still playing this guy, dropping 20 kills and whatnot. But even I know he's not that great anymore, because he just gets overshadowed. I don't know if they shadow nerfed him or what, but he does not feel like as impactful, because again, you got characters like this guy running around, right? Like, he's a melee character. Melee characters are generally harder to play against. You got like ranged characters who are just gonna beam you in the face. People know how to play around him. But I think he could probably get a little buff. But if anyone needs it more, is this guy Bojack. He's drowning in DPS debt right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if characters like Bojack get a buff. Kale gets a slight nerf, because honestly, her skill 1 is kind of ridiculous. I would probably honestly give Trunks a little buff as well. He is a high risk, high reward character as well. I'd probably give him a little slight health buff prior to level 7, because he's one of those characters like Cell. Again, like, early laning phase is too important. This guy has great secures, great bursts, but man, oh man, like he is way too defenseless. And finally, I mean, I didn't want to talk too much about Topo, but honestly, I'm gonna give my little opinion. I don't really, like, some people could agree he's a fun character to a degree. But honestly, out of the 3, he's the one I could genuinely confidently say you can skip, right? I bought him because obviously I'm just gonna buy him to test him, but this is a must. Gold Tanks was a really solid must. Like, this guy is just too great. But Topo, I feel like you can just skip him. People have asked me, hey, like, is Topo worth buying? I tend to no. You know, and like the only thing I can say arguably is like one of the best things about Topo is his skill 3. His counter, one of the best abilities in the game, hands down. I just think the problem is, right, how I would have built him is, 1, his skill 1. I think it needs to be redirectional, kind of like an omnidirectional kind of ability. The fact that it's linear and it goes just in a straight line, I think that's a little lame. It's a little weird, but whatever. But this is what I like and dislike. I like this ability. It's actually really strong. The problem is when it says deals more damage, the more market destruction stacks there are. I feel like when you're spinning, the more that you're hitting them, see how like long that lasts? I think it should apply more stack. When he's spinning, maybe I feel like it should grant him a little strike defense or a little energy defense, whatever, something. Just his defense is really weak. This guy has a lot of health, which is really good, really solid. But I think that like his defense is a little lacking. And here's just my little nitpick I'm just gonna throw out there. I think the game right now needs some statistics and data. This isn't enough to show, like, we need actual numbers. I think the community can wholeheartedly agree that we would like some numbers. These charts, these little graphs aren't really it in my opinion. For example, like MOBA games like League of Legends, you know, they show like, you know, like there's like a whole rune page, right? That shows, you know, stats and numbers and percentages and stuff like that. This isn't enough in my opinion. I feel like you know, there should be a better way for us to see the stats. It would really help a long way for learning characters or learning how much damage certain characters can do. I know you can say, oh, go into training mode and do it yourself, but look, we feel like it should already be given to us already. Those type of numbers are really critical, especially if this game intends to go in the competitive field and like the esports, if ever goes that way. But I feel like it could. It's a MOBA, but also we're already having official tournaments and whatnot, right? So those type of analytics I feel like are very important in my opinion. But yeah, but anyway, that's just my little nitpick. Moving on though, like that's just how I feel about Topo. Topo is in a weird spot right now. I feel like his ultimate is whatever. Again, strong skill 3, really good. But yeah, honestly, he wasn't really worth the 250 gems. I just feel like if you're gonna make people spend 250 gems, they should actually feel worth buying. I understand that you don't want to make, I'm not saying make every character who's worth 250 busted like Super Saiyan 3, but I feel like someone like Topo, again, like 250 gems I'm spending, right? If you want me to go into the shop and start spending bread, the least I feel like you guys could do is make it feel like they're worth even buying in the first place. I think that's all I have in terms of buffs and nerfs. I think everybody else is in a pretty decent. I think Baby needs a buff as well. Like, you know, you want people to play your characters. If you guys aren't going to buff these characters for season 2, then at least for season 2, I'm expecting tank, which brings me to my next point. I think for season 2, you guys should introduce at least 2 more tanks. I think the DPS slots are already filled up to the max. We're fine on DPS. I think we need to introduce more tanks to at least overshadow characters like Khalifa and Cooler. Now, my predictions for season 2, I think we'll probably get Z Broly, hopefully, as a tank. Who I would personally want though is Bardock. Okay, I'm talking about Z Bardock. I'm talking about movie Bardock with the red bandana. Okay, now if he is a DPS or tech, I'll accept it. I'll even accept a tank. Honestly, I just want Bardock. I don't care what role he is, I'm gonna play him. That is my #1 favorite character. If I see Bardock, I will cry and cream. Okay, so that's just me though. I want to see Bardock. But if you want to go on like the specifics, like who I would see as a tank, Z Broly for a fact. I could even see Rose pulling up as a tank, honestly, or a tech, you know, but it'd be really interesting to see. Or you know what, Future Gohan. I would love to see Future Gohan, 1 arm. It'd be really cool to see a character like that as a tank. You will want to see Bardock for season 2. There you go. I sprinkled my hypno. Now let's move on to the divine stuff, because I know I was yapping a little too long, but let's talk about this. Things need to be addressed. Divine draws. I think you already know where I'm gonna go with this, but let's just talk about real quick what I feel like the game needs in terms of longevity and like in terms of health, and not just for season 2, because I get it, man, maybe season 2 won't introduce everything I'm talking about, but this is what I generally think it needs anyway. So for starters, again, look, Superstar, I know how fun it is, but I feel like Superstar is very biased towards specific characters. Like, it is way too strong on specific characters. Again, characters like Goku and Kale thrive off of this, right? You're gonna get beamed down. Like, by the time you get to lane, you're getting hit by 1 skill and your health is already depleted, right? There are certain characters that don't even have that type of level of damage, right? So again, it's really weird that this is a thing. Like, I generally like don't like it, but it's not the worst, right? Like, if they want to still keep it, whatever, that's fine. Energy Bomb is probably honestly is one of the worst divine draws. I really don't like this. Like, this has costed me so many games where just like it just throws me off. Like, it throws off my entire balance, throws off my combo. It's pushed me into the enemies. I dislike this a lot. I think it's the most useless divine draw in the game. Like, why does it exist? You know, like it's just one of those questions, like, why? Buns are cool. This is whatever is cool. This is cool, right? These are interesting. I didn't mean to hover over the most, the most degenerative one. Now this one. Look, I'm not gonna be on the bandwagon of saying remove it, because look, I highly doubt they will. Would I want it removed? Absolutely. I just think people get into queues after waiting like 10, 20 minutes, and then games last like 5 minutes or less because of Cell Jr. Cell Jr. is probably the worst experience I've ever had in any MOBA game, because this is not even a pure skill based matchmaking anymore. The mechanic in itself, I understand that they wanted to make it like new and you know, they want these games to go faster. But the thing is, it's not skill based. Whoever gets more Cell Juniors wins the game. The problem, and don't even get me started of how, like, the fact that it levels you up, right? Like, you get one Cell Junior and then you get the Kai, you're already up 2 levels. You already pretty much dominated your lane. You kill those 2 enemies in your lane, and then suddenly 2 freaking Cell Junior spawn, one on their end and then one on your side, and then you secure Kai and all that farm. You're pretty much up 2 or 3 levels. You just won your lane. But I think the main problem that everybody can agree with is the fact that they're unpredictable. They spawn randomly. There's no telling when they spawn. They just spawn whenever they like. They give way too much XP and they completely ruin the balance of laning phase. It doesn't matter how well you play either. Again, it's just one of those games where you get a Cell Junior, you will come up and win. You die once, you make one mistake, then all of a sudden a Cell Junior spawns and then they get it. GG's. It's just not fun. It's a very coin flip simulator at that point. If they want to keep it, so be it. Here's my suggestion. If they want to keep Golden Cell Jr., I think you guys need to introduce more divine draws so that the divine draws are a bit oversaturated, so that we'll be less likely to encounter Cell Juniors. Or you nerf the divine draw itself, the Cell Junior specifically, you nerf how much experience you get. Or you provide a timer on the map that shows when a Cell Junior will spawn. Maybe just like how you do with the bosses, you give a little countdown when those Cell Juniors spawn. I don't know. Would probably make the experience much better. Everybody could fight for it. I don't know. Or you can maximize how many Cell Juniors will spawn in the game. So I think maybe like a total of 5 Cell Juniors, and it shows on the map like somewhere like, or on the top screen, like 0 out of 5 Cell Juniors claims or whatever, right? So that means 5 Golden Cell Juniors will spawn in the game only, and 5 will be the max. I just think like there's so many ways to go around it, so many ways to go about it, to nerf it, to make it more of an enjoyable experience. But the way it is now, it is not an experience, because I'm gonna tell you this right now. Superstar Cell Junior, bottom line, going to last 2 minutes, 3 minutes tops. You're not having a great time. By the time you even realize what's happening, your Kale or Super Saiyan 3 Goku is already level 12, and you look at the timer of the game and you realize it's only 4 minutes get in, and your enemy Kale is level 12 and she's already charging at you with your ultimate, and you're wondering why are you still level 5, is only because you didn't get any Cell Juniors. So I think that's it for me in terms of divine draws. Either add more or completely remove slash nerf it in many ways. But I think introducing more divine draws for season 2 will really be fresh. Now, divine combo cards, I think, not gonna lie, there needs to be some buffs to certain ones, because look, barrier is probably the most broken, arguably the most broken divine combo in the game. Like, people really hardly ever go with steel skin. Barrier is probably like the #1 priority that people will pick. No one is picking Epic Hunter like that. Like, a select few will pick these two if they're like trolling or whatever. Like, strategic escape is like decent for certain characters, but mostly I notice when techs, even techs, are just mainly running either snowball, build up, and they get barrier. They're running it like a DPS. This is the main thing that people are running is this: snowball and or build up, barrier for their 2, and for level 3, the pendant is mostly limit breaking jump. It is the most broken, you know, divine combo in the game. Like, having the double vanish is already busted. People run this too on like Super Saiyan 3, which is crazy. Again, like, you're gonna be landing like 2 Kamehamehas and within 3 seconds is crazy. No one hardly runs this. No one hardly runs that. You guys need to at least, I feel like, buff these, make it so that it actually feels more impactful. Like, this on paper sounds strong, but nobody is running it. It doesn't feel like it's doing what it's supposed to, right? You know, these cards are like good on its own, of course, but for survivability and stuff, people are gonna mainly pick, like, and especially high ranks, people are mainly picking these 2 blue cards. So no one is picking these at all. You know, like, at least if you're gonna not touch these, then maybe add more divine combos to make it feel more fresh. Um, because even this, I honestly believe this needs a little nerf, man. 4 snowballs is crazy, man. Like I think the percentage is 26 or 24% damage inflicted if you get 4 snowball stacks. I know in the beta it used to be up to 10, which was crazy, but yeah, man, I think snowball is a little too powerful right now. Barrier's a little too busted. Um, but yeah, I don't know how they'll implement further changes. I don't know if they'll probably keep it in the future or keep this for the future, but I don't know if they'll even introduce anything new or touch anything right now for divine combos, at least for season 2. But I think in upcoming seasons for sure, if you want to keep this game fresh and alive, and you want to give more people more options, right? Or at least like change it up once in a while. I think that would be really cool to see new things. Now, another thing I'd like to talk about is communication system. It's kind of hand in hand with matchmaking system as well. But we'll talk about all that in a bit. So for now, let's start with the communication system. Right? Now, there's no real way to communicate with your teammates if you're not in like a Discord or in a voice chat with your teammates. You're pretty much not gonna be able to communicate with your team. Now, you're gonna be like, well, there's a pinging system. This is by far the weirdest feature in the game. I really do not like how it's implemented. Like, first of all, you want something that feels like I can easily click it, right? Like, this is not something I can easily click on. Holding G while like, you gotta like move, and no, man, like this is not okay, right? Like, this just feels weird. And honestly, like it doesn't really tell you things like, honestly, like it should tell you things like I'm on my way or something like that. But even then, like, League of Legends has like real pings, like, like the pinging system, at least if you're not in a full squad, it can still like highlight things like, yo, I'm on my way, or like danger, right? Like, there's no way to mute it, which also bothers me. People who get angry at this game, mostly what they do is they mass ping, they spam it, and now you can't even mute it. So now you're tilted, hearing all these mass pings, right? And you can't do anything about it. There's no real way to mute it. Yeah, there's nothing in your settings that you can mute that feature. So I think if you guys aren't gonna implement a game chat or voice chat feature, there needs to be a way to mute pinging. All right, like there has to be a better communication system in general, which leads me to kind of the next point again about matchmaking in general. Matchmaking is in a weird spot. I think it's a little unbalanced, and it's a lot. If you're not in a full stack, have you're gonna primarily lose your lane. You lose your game. Like the chances of you winning your game are very slim now, because you're playing against a full stack of players who are able to communicate with each other in voice chat, right? And I understand this game is too early, it's still new. You're not gonna implement a voice chat or in-game chat because that's gonna require moderation, right? You do have toxic motherfuckers in this game. I get it. I'm one included, right? But regardless, there has to be a better way to at least communicate with your team if you don't have the luxury of having a Discord or being in these VCs and whatnot. Like, how do you go about the matchmaking, right? The matchmaking just feels a little unbalanced. If you're not in a full stack, again, your chances of winning are slim. Solo queue, by far, you want to introduce this game to casual players. You want people to have fun. Casual players are not having a good time in this game because they're playing against a full stack team. They want to play solo, they want to just have the experience, but then they're getting stomped hard because it's a 1v4 essentially. Sometimes you got players on your team who don't know what they're doing, or maybe they do, but there's no real way to communicate because again, everybody already knows, all right, I'm gonna rotate here, right? Like the pinging system, you could be like, look, 10 seconds, Nappa's coming, right? But that's not enough, right? Like, you don't know what's happening in your top lane or your bottom lane, right? Like, You can say, oh, well, that's the way you can look at the map. But like, by the time you're doing all this already, and like, you're calculating in your head and you're trying to sync, telepathically with your team, right? The team, the opposite team who's already in a full stack, they're already communicating what they need to do, what they're gonna do, right? They already know what to do, what they're gonna do because they can communicate. Look, all I'm saying is there needs to be some advantage to players who solo queue, which leads me to my next point about matchmaking in general. Okay, like I just think that right now, like I said, it's unfair and a little unbalanced. I was even on the fence about it too when this game first came out. I was like, bro, just play with your friends, but not everyone has that luxury. So the community really strongly feels like the matchmaking is unbalanced and it should have separate matchmaking. Like 4 stacks should not be paired up with solo queuers. I think that's fair, right? If you're playing in a 4 stack, you should only play against teams in a 4 stack. There's too much of an advantage with 4 stacks. They should do what other games do, like Pokemon Unite and League of Legends, right? Where they have those queues separate, right? If 4 stacks and trios are paired together, and duos and solo queuers are paired together, right? Systems like that are make the game feel more fresh and alive. The problem though, which I think I understand, the problem is that this game's player base just isn't big enough yet. But at least for now, there has to be a way either to accommodate that or to at least introduce the idea that you're at least considering it. Even if we got that type of acknowledgement that, yeah, you know what, like we noticed a huge player base decline is because, again, like a lot of people were complaining that solo queue is just not fun. I don't even have fun. And it doesn't matter how skillful you are. I think I'm a pretty decent player in this game. Like I already know the ins and outs of what to do and what not to do. Of course, I'm not perfect, and I don't think I'm arguably the best player in the world and whatnot. Even though I am like top 30 tank and I was top 100 in the game, that doesn't mean I'm like good, right? I think I'm decent. But regardless, it doesn't matter how good you are, because if you are not in sync with your team, you can't carry. This game is not one of those games where like, I could just 1v4. It isn't like that at all, right? Again, it doesn't matter how skillful you are, how good you are, whatever. Like if your team doesn't coordinate with you, those weak links, you feel it. You feel it. It really, really impacts your entire game. Okay, so it really, really sucks when you're playing well, you're probably dominating your lane, and then your teammates up top or bot are getting stomped, or and they're already getting objectives, they're getting the bosses, but it doesn't matter, right? So if there's no communication with your team, you're pretty much throwing at that point, because again, 4 stacks, no matter how well you play, will always have that advantage. My little nitpick as well, like I'm probably in the minority when I say this, but hey, man, give me an avoid teammate option, please. Please, 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 bro. They're just teammates I just don't want to play with anymore, who intentionally throw, or they're just too bad, okay? Like they're just not that great at the game, and I'd rather not waste my time, okay? Like there's no way some of these players hit S rank. That's all I'm trying to say, man. I know players who have boosted their way up to A rank, and they boosted their way up to S rank. There's no way I need players on my team throwing. I'ma just be honest, brutally honest to say, I sometimes wonder. I get sometimes we have bad days. I got bad days, and I'm like, damn, I really did bad. But then when those bad days are too common, and I see that same player every day on my team, and I'm like, how many bad days are you gonna have? For how long? How long? Like, so I would just like, hey, like I'm gonna temporarily or permanently, avoid you just for now. Just I don't want to keep losing points. Okay. But speaking of that too, also, I think there needs to be a better system with rage quitters. Now, we got too many players in this game for whatever reason, avoiding the matches, dodging, I guess is what people were saying, right? Like, oh my God, I'm playing against the number 10 player in the world. I got to get out of here, right? Like people are just too much of a coward to play against these high ranked players, and they just dodge, right? And I'm just like, dude, like just play the game, try to have fun, and try to get better. You're gonna get your ass whooped. That's the whole point of the game, right? Like you can't get better if you're not playing against high ranked players. That's just it. You have to get beat in order to improve. So the fact that people just dodge but consistently is very concerning. One, I think they need to be harsher punishments towards people who dodge, but not only those players, but people who rage quit in the middle of a game. So now the game is 3v4. There needs to be stricter punishments. I should not lose the same amount of points that the rage quitter is losing. If I lose 25 and he's losing 25, but he rage quit, that's absurd. There needs to be a way, a point adjustment. I need to at least lose like 10 points and that kid loses like 30, 35 points, bro. If he's rage quitting, if you're not going to do that, maybe make like restrictions, right? Like Marvel Rivals. If you quit, even in quick play, if you quit an X amount of times, you will be banned for like there's like a 5-minute period where you don't get to queue up. And the more times you do it in a day, it'll increase. It will go from 5 minutes to 10 to 15 to 30 to an hour, 8 hours, right? I think this game needs to implement something like that because there's too many players I've played with in a consistent basis where they're dodging and or rage quitting, and it really causes a lot of unfairness. Reporting doesn't really do anything. I report for, intentionally leaving or AFK, and I don't even know if that even does anything, right? So that's just me giving my little nitpick opinion on that. I think there needs to be harsher punishments for players that do void matches and rage quit intentionally. I understand that people crash and they disconnect, but they can always join back. But when they don't, I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna lose X amount of points now because it's 3v4. It doesn't matter. Like, we were doing so well and it doesn't matter. It's 3v4. So just little things like that, I think could increase the quality of life of the game. And speaking of quality of life, I think this game needs more background music. No disrespect, but I've come to terms with muting or at least lowering the volume of Gekishin, as you can see, with the music. Like, the music is fine. Like, it's nice. It's a nice battle music, background music, but if there were more options to change it, like in the settings, like, okay, I want to listen to this song now, right? Like, there needs to be better. I think maybe just more options. Like, it should be free, but look, if you guys even want to be crazy and be like, you know what, you want more background music, yeah, go summon for it. Only for specific great capsules though. I'm not about to spend like gold capsules on music, but bro, like I would pull for it. Okay, like if it came to that point, I'll pull for music. Like, I just want more music, but I catch myself now on my Spotify or YouTube playlist playing songs, and I don't want to do that while I'm gaming, but at the same time, I also don't want to keep hearing the same song over and over again. Games like Dokkan and Legends, right? Like, they can swap music. There's different options. So please, Gekishin Squadra creators, developers, please give us more options for music choices. I think that would be really cool. It would be a really cool quality of life, even if it's not for season 2, upcoming seasons. I think I covered mostly like the most important stuff. Things like summons, like, I think it's a little brutal. There's no pity system. The fact that these cost 1,000, right? 1,000 EX tokens. That's like roughly like $500 you need to spend to even unlock one of these skins. I think it's cool that like you guys still keep it even if they're old. But dude, man, the fact that you only get like one EX token, right? Because you gotta, like, in order to get them, you gotta have like duplicate items, right? But damn, it's a grind, man. Like, I'm already at 400 and you need 1,000, right? So like, I don't think I'm gonna get one till like next year, man. By the time I get one, you guys are gonna introduce the coolest infinite skin, and then I'm gonna be asked out because I just, I don't have the funds for it anymore, and look, man, I love this game. I ain't buying, $500 worth of generic skins and just to exchange them for dupes to get EX tokens, which isn't even a guarantee. Like, at least let me buy this, right? Like, I gotta get EX tokens. Like, all right, what if you guys said, all right, EX tokens or $50 right now to buy it? I would probably do the $50 option, like, I don't know, man. Also, another nitpick, a little quality of life. I have 11 gold capsules. Give me the option to pull for multiple options, please. I don't want to have to buy 350 gems to do multiple summons. If I have multiple capsules, I should be able to do multiple gold capsules. You guys do it for the pink capsules. You guys do it for the gray capsules. I should be able to do it for the gold capsules. Like there should be a third tab here that says, okay, open 5 with your golden capsules. I see you have 11. So, hey, why not, right? Doing one at a time is kind of crazy. It's just a little, just time consuming thing. Like, you know, just get it out of the way. Like, let me get shafted. At least if I get shafted, just rip off the band-aid. Let me see all 5, you know, crappy pulls that I pulled, please. Seeing it one at a time is actually more painful. Okay. Oh, another thing I forgot to add. It's probably really important. Technical fixes and like lag issues. Okay, and what I mean by that is more specifically your input, right? The input delays. 2 things I noticed. Number 1, transforming. There's a huge delay in transforming. I don't want to have to break my finger mashing X on keyboard to transform. It's a big delay and it should be instantaneous, right? If you click X, you should transform immediately. I noticed that there's been a lot of delays with that, but not just transformation specifically, but also returning home, hitting B. I've gone into so many games. I'm about to show you guys right now, man. I've gone into so many games. I'm just going to pick Frieza. Gone into so many games where I'm running away. I'm like trying to return to base because I'm low, right? And I'll do this. I'll hide in a bush. Let's go into a little bush real quick. I do this and I'm like pressing B. Yeah, it's doing it now, right? But like in game, because obviously I don't have any ping right now, but in other games where higher ping, there's gonna be a huge noticeable difference in your delay inputs, in your input, right? So I just think that like you guys need to fix that because it really is costly. I've gone into so many situations where I'll be in a bush doing this and I'm clicking B and nothing is happening. And then I'm like, bro, like I'm already like on my 3rd finger right now. I've broken the other 2 just to go return to base. So that's just my other nitpick. And I think that's it. As far as everything goes, I pretty much covered mostly everything on my notes. But again, I'm sure the community can always speak and even address other things that they'd like to see implemented in the game. So if you guys, again, want to see other things, not just for season 2, but in general, please comment down below. Let me know what you would like to see. Because again, I will submit this video to the right hands, to the right eyes of the Gekishin Squadra team. Because again, I am an official creator. So it would really help me and it would really help you if you gave valid constructive criticism. Don't just say, yeah, I dropped the game because bad. All right, whatever, that's your opinion, right? But like if you want to see it improve, if you are actually like frustrated at things, you're valid to feel that, but explain why. What do you want to improve and why? And what would you like to see if you are a, you know, an experienced MOBA player, right? You've played games like Unite, League, Dota, whatever, right? Like things you would like to see implemented in the future, not just for, again, this doesn't have to pertain to season 2 specifically, just future in general. Because again, I'm sure as much as you do, I would love to see this game flourish. This game has a lot of potential, especially in the esports side of things. But again, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt naturally because look, we're still in season 1. It's still new. We're not in like season 5 and things are still the same, you know, no. But I think when season 2 starts, I think maybe that's when things should like click in their head and be like, okay, people want to see us thrive. Let's give the people what they want. We're gonna get more money this way. Let's lock in, right? So I think if they want to make more money, they want to keep the player base happy, they need to start listening more to the community. I know some people are asking for too much and things that they probably can't do in their power, but at least some kind of acknowledgement would really help a long way. Again, even just saying, yeah, we can't do this, it still speaks volumes, you know, as much as they would probably love to, because again, they can't do everything. And I understand that. So I just think it's a communication thing at that point. But yeah, I think that's all, guys. Look, I love this game. I love the community. And I just want to see this game thrive. And again, if you agree with any of these points, please like the video, hype up the video, make sure you share it with your friends, because again, the more views, the more discoverability this gets, the better. Not only for obvious reasons as a creator, but also, it'll bring more fan base, more people to, give their constructive criticism. All right. So again, give me your posts, your takes, whatever in the comments below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. And again, if you agreed, disagreed, feel free to let me know your thoughts. All right. I'll see you guys in the next video. This is Bebop signing out. Peace.